Well, hello, welcome back. Thanks for stopping in. I'm Kirsten Red, and this is my channel, Kirsten Red Resells. I hope everyone's doing okay. So today I'm gonna try to attempt to talk about Victorian jewelry in a nutshell, because there's a lot of info and I don't want to go over it all because there's a lot of it. So it's gonna be like a way abbreviated edition, and you have to excuse me. I remember 80% of my notes, but I do have a cheat sheet which I will be looking at because of what I gotta do to give you the correct information. I have dogs that bark at whatever they feel like barking at, and I've got my kid home and my husband home, and it's a Saturday, so please excuse any potential chaos. I will try to minimize it as much as I can. Anyway, once again, my name is Kirsten. Thank you for stopping by. We're gonna do a brief thing, and there's my husband. Like I told you, I was gonna get interrupted, I'm sure, at least 5 times, okay? 5 times. Oh, there he is. Okay, oh shit. Oh my God, okay. What are we doing? Victorian in a nutshell. Okay, so Victorian period, about 1837 to what, 1901, during the reign of Queen Victoria in England. Okay, so where do we begin? So there was like a lot going on. They're having like identity crises then. So it was really important for the classes of people to feel good about themselves or whatever. I don't know. Not much different than today, honestly. So back then, the more the better, the more you were considered a higher class. Middle class and the working class couldn't afford, unfortunately, this jewelry. But things do change. They absolutely do. But anyway, there's 3 distinct time periods, okay? So the first one is the Romantic period. The second one is the Grand period. And the third is the Aesthetic. So I only have a few examples of stuff, because then we can get into like the hair jewelry, the morning jewelry. And I have a little bit of that. I do not have any hair jewelry that actually has hair in it. Yeah, so I'll do the best that I can, okay? So we're gonna start with the Romantic, because that is the first period. So they had themes to all of these. So the theme for the Romantic was like the natural world, which would be like, what is it? Snakes, trees, birds, serpents, lotus flowers. They used gold, little seed pearls, those tiny, tiny little pearls. They used a lot. They used ivory. I know. Tortoiseshell, yeah, I know. But this was a long time ago. They didn't think the same as we do now, okay? They also used weird combinations. They would have like diamonds with amber. Like really just, things that you don't necessarily see so much today. They would use what? Amethyst, emeralds, quartz. Like they would just put it all together. It didn't matter. And the result was really lovely, then we have the Grand period, which this is when things get fun, because the Grand period, it's the first costume jewelry. It's when the people decided, you know what, you don't have to be like the super rich and landowners and royalty and all that. It wasn't fair, so that's when the first costume jewelry, documented costume jewelry came about, which is, I personally think, pretty cool. So because it was originated for the working people, there's no reason why they couldn't feel fabulous and look fabulous, and make it affordable. So that's cool. And so that's when you see a lot of beetles and dragonflies and flies in jewelry. Flies, I don't know why. I'm not quite sure the symbolism, but I have a lovely example. Can we see this? Well, that's not gonna help. A little fly. This is a Victorian fly with little tiny diamonds. This is a enhancer and a little brooch. let's see, what else? Where am I? Okay, so they used a lot of clear stones then. They used silver, was becoming more popularized in this period. This is when jet, you'll see a lot more jet and onyx. Jet was easier to carve and easier to deal with, but it was hard to come by because it was so popular because of Queen Victoria, because she went into mourning when her husband died. And the mourning period for the normal, quote unquote, person was about 2 years, okay? Hers was 40. She was in mourning from the day that her husband passed away to the day that she passed away. So that's when mourning jewelry became extremely popular. Yeah, there was interesting rules. I know I'm all over the place, but there was interesting rules with that, with the mourning jewelry, but we'll get back to that. I just skipped over the aesthetic period. So aesthetic period was a very political period, and this is when women started to speak up, and they had more political power. They were doing women's groups, per se, and what was important to them wasn't jewelry at that point, okay? So less and less jewelry was being manufactured and worn. Now, they did wear jewelry, obviously, but they wore jewelry for special occasions, or if they were in mourning, okay? Where am I? So that was that. Okay, so we're gonna get into mourning jewelry because that's what a lot of people wanna know about. And yes, I will show you jewelry, but I'm just getting over all the nitty gritty stuff first. Okay, so so mourning jewelry. So let's say a husband passed away. I'm just trying to give an example. Even though women were speaking up and becoming more political and feeling more empowered, I guess you could say, it was still really important to them, if their husband passed away, to still represent their status, what their husband worked so hard for. So therefore, they still wanted to wear jewelry on the right occasions. Now, when they were in mourning, the first year, they were not to wear anything that was reflective, shiny. I guess black, if it was shiny, I guess that was okay. Because there are examples, plenty of examples of mourning jewelry that is black, that's not matte black, okay? So, yeah, it's that period where they would wear all black, and only like the blackest of black jewelry was about a year. The second year, they were able to start to wear a little bit of reflective, still darker jewelry, but clear stones started. So you would see more of like the rhodium, which is popular nowadays, but more of like a, do I have an example? I do. So more of like a darker silver with black. Now these are earrings, okay? So these are Victorian earrings. But you would also see, which I don't have an example of, I do not think. No, not really. You would see the dark silver with clear stones, like diamonds or just quartz. They would do that too. Occasionally they do an amethyst, but they would slowly work up to that. You would also see some funky stuff. Okay, so we'll get into some of the examples, okay? So if people were not in mourning, their day jewelry, let's talk about the day jewelry, would be cameos, okay? So I'll show you just a couple examples. Now these are just raw carved cameos. They're not in settings. They were, but they're not now. So these were both brooches at one point. So cameos was huge, very, very big. They'd also wear cameos. This is a cameo slide with seed pearls. So this would be considered like day jewelry. Not so, and this one's a little, a little thicker. But yeah, that's more, and then very small, dainty, demure pins. Like these tiny little guys. Can we even see these? Very pretty. But these would be like on their collars, on their coats, just very simple. Still trying to show a little bit of style, or just a little bit, but just hints of it, just very simple. In the evening, it would be a little bit more glammed up, and they would start wearing more of their big bangles. And they would wear quite a few at a time. It could have them, you know, both arms. And these all have different motifs like I spoke about before. So for instance, this one could be in, it basically is a type of mourning jewelry as far as you could get someone's initials that you missed, that is no longer with us, or a sweetheart, someone that loved you, could put, you know, their initials in it. So that's that. What else? Let's see. Oh, and then here's more motif jewelry. We've got butterfly. And that is also a pin brooch. Okay, so now we have, where are we? Okay. I don't want to forget certain things though. For instance, like revival. So, because I'll forget about this, even though I'm skipping, I'm really sorry. Okay, so there's a lot of revival. So, like, okay, so a lot of time periods that were popular style-wise have revival. So at a certain year, it all comes back, but they change it up slightly. So here is a revival piece. So it is most certainly in the style of Victorian style. These are the materials they would use, the style and everything, except it's kind of blown up a bit. So this would be something, you know, that would not necessarily be a daytime piece. This is still vintage, but it's not antique, okay? And then we would have like these kind of brooches. Now this is like a bigger brooch. You'll see how the pin sticks out from the C-clasp. And this is because if it was like a sash or a jacket or whatever, it's thicker material, so they had to have more room to be able to fit the pin in the brooch. Now this is actually, I found out from the actual family who this actually belonged to, that these were actually birthstones. So this is actually like a mourning piece, even though it seems cheery and happy. Those 3 different colors were the children who did not survive this family. It's birthstones. So that was their interpretation of what to do. Okay, so when I see this kind of star, I think of the Masons, Freemasons. I don't know about you, but this is not Freemasons. This was stars. Celestial was huge. Crescent moons were almost like eating lunch or, you know, whatever, drinking water. You know, like you had a crescent moon, it was the cycle, the female cycle. Women would go on their honeymoons and they would have a new crescent moon piece of jewelry because it's the cycle of a new life that they're starting. So I thought that was kind of sweet. So anyway, but stars are a big deal as well. So here's just an example. Okay, so now we can go into some mourning jewelry. Okay. So they used onyx and black jet a lot. Nowadays you'll find these guys, but they're like, you know, crystal or whatever. This one is actually onyx. Okay, so it's just a real pretty Victorian. Queen Victoria, her collection was insane. A lot of people think Victorian jewelry is like this really tiny, like I'm showing you, very dainty, la la la. Well, there are some examples of like, we're talking big cameos, all in black on black on black, but like these amazing, like almost like armor pieces, just incredible. So if you're interested, definitely look up her collection because it blew my mind. You know, a lot of it looks relevant today, like just, I don't know, it blew my mind because, you know, unless you can actually see it. Excuse the blowing of the nose. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so like I was talking about day jewelry as opposed to evening jewelry. So here's a lovely example of a mourning ring cameo. Now it has the black background. Now, a lot of the cameos would be all black, but this is the only example I have. Okay, and then we have, they did a lot of double-sided, like in lockets. You would have like, you know, a little locket with initials carved on it, and sometimes you'd open it up and there'd be either pictures or hair, woven hair. This is a little pendant of 2 different women. I don't know if you can see that. I'm always so curious to like who they were, what they did, their families. People think they're all very, very strange and serious in the Victorian age. They're actually complete goofballs. You don't get to see that much about that. They like to have fun. They were now I'm generalizing, obviously, but there was plenty of practical jokers, and you know, I guess you had to have a sense of humor and enjoy life to the fullest, because a lot of people just died. You know, they were learning about medical stuff. They did really weird medical experiments on people. Yeah, like things that you hear about today and you can't believe it. You know, cocaine was over-the-counter toothache, eye ache, rash, cranky baby, you know, tired, getting old, whatever, headache, you know, like cocaine. And yeah, so that kind of stuff. But they did weird experimental stuff that we know better now. Their makeups were killing them. Everything was killing them. So you better live life to the fullest when your lifespan is not expected to be older than, I mean, 50, you are old, you know, you're like, wow, you made it. Oh my gosh, you know, yeah. And lots of children died. So yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, let's get, you know, we're not past that yet, but like, here's a typical morning piece. Now, these little tiny seed pearls, those represents the tears that one shed when people passed away that they loved or cared about. Now, this is not in best condition. It is missing 1 or 2 little pearls. And this is a brooch that's missing its pin, but I love it. I still think they're beautiful. Okay. Now here is a version that is costume. I mentioned costume. So some of this is gold, some of this is rolled gold, and some of it's just brass. And this is not even, I don't even think that's stone. Well, it might be stone. Looks like it's just enameled, honestly. Okay, let's see. Now, oh, okay. This is a beautiful piece. This is morning jewelry as well. And if you can, I don't know if you can tell, but this is translucent. Like, you can actually see through it. Yeah, it's not coming across. But up to the light, it like is purpley. It's insane. And in the inside, a long time ago, it's not there anymore, unfortunately, there was a little plaque of a name, and the other side had a little band of woven hair. And when it was still there, unfortunately, it didn't even look like hair. I didn't even know what it was. It just looked like burlap, kind of. I know it sounds weird, but it was such a tight weave that I was ignorant. I had no idea that it was hair. So I'm the one who removed it. Shame on me. You know, a long time ago. You learn from your mistakes, hopefully. Anyway, it's still a beautiful bracelet. And then here was an example of another morning piece. Now this, I can't open it anymore. It's like, I'm afraid it's gonna rip apart. But you'll be able to open this, and there's still the hair inside of this guy here. And you see the little hearts with the, I don't know if they're little rubies. They might be little rubies or garnet. I think they're rubies. They're a little pink. And most of the, you know, gold has worn away. It's just a really pretty, big, you know, it's pretty pretty substantial piece. Okay, and then here's another little examples. Now this is what I was talking about with daytime jewelry being more like smaller and not so much in your face and showy offy. Is that a word? But this is morning jewelry as well. Now this one is carved jet. You can see the old clasp. See clasp? And it has the natural motif of the flowers. This is actually, I think, a dogwood. And then here's a version. Now this is some sort of metal, I don't know. Oh, it's so tiny, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway. Okay. Now, they also did some weird things, okay? They, okay, so when a body passes, it goes on to its next phase of life, there's two things that kind of stick around, which is hair and teeth. And that's what people used, you know, to still feel like they were connected to their loved ones. Now, I could not tell you what kind of, whose tooth or what, this does not look like any human tooth to me. No. Okay, but it is Victorian and it's some sort of tooth. Yeah, so I'm gonna show it to you. And it was capped. Now, someone later in time put it on a bolo tie because that's where I like to see my Victorian jewelry, is on a bolo tie. But to each his own. So yes, there is a weird claspy thing on the back, but the casing itself is very big. You can see, I don't know if you can even see it. There's a little bit of etching in it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so this is something, some sort of tooth. Someone told me, and I can't remember for the life of me at this present time what kind of tooth. So there's that. Okay, what else did they did? Okay, so during the funerals, some women, usually the more affluent women, would have these elaborate hair combs, and sometimes you would see them in skull and crossbone. And not only skull and crossbone, but they would be woven with the dead loved one's hair. It was the thing. So they'd have, I do not have an example of that. Those are hard to come by, extremely expensive. They're in museums, they're on the internet. You can look at pictures, take my word though. And some of them are just remarkable. You would, I mean, wow, you know, but yeah. So they'd have like these combs that they'd stick in their hair, you know, and you just have like the big crossbow and the skull, and it was okay. That was, that was expected, you know. Yeah, but they also had a thing for, so of course my example is a tiny little skull and crossbone that came off a Victorian brooch. Oh gosh, yeah. It's a little blurry. I don't know what to do. Sorry, guys. Okay, and eyeballs. Now, not that I'm aware of, not real human eyeballs, but eyeballs, were a thing, and they would put it in rings, in any piece of jewelry. Like you would have like a beautiful brooch, and then on one side there'd be like an eyeball sticking out at you. And the reason they did that was so their loved ones, it was a representation of their loved ones watching out for them, looking over them, keeping them safe, nudging them on, you know. So you would see that. This guy lost its eyeball. I'm gonna get it fixed though. But so this is a Victorian ring, and the center right here was like it almost looked like a marble, but like painted, so it was like a little tiny marble glass thing, an actual painted eyeball So it would be, you know, well, this is too big. But yeah, can you imagine a little eyeball just staring at you? Hello. But think about it. I mean, in Egypt, they had eyeballs. You have the Eye of Ishtar. I mean, there's plenty in history. The all-seeing eye, you know. So it makes sense to me, you know, and anything that comforts people in their time of sadness is kind of what this was about. Yeah, so this is just a brief little history of Victorian jewelry with some examples in a nutshell. Once again, my name is Kirsten Red. I do appreciate you stopping by. If you liked what you see, would you please subscribe? That would be awesome. Yeah. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Either way, it helps me out, believe it or not. And hit that notification bell because I'm not regular. Like, oh, that did not sound good. I'm not regular at uploading. So some weeks I'll have 4 or 5 videos. Some weeks I'll have 3. And it'll just let you know when I'm putting out these amazing videos for you. Anyway, if you need to reach me, please feel free to. I can reach at kirstenred56@gmail.com. I also have a Poshmark. It is Poshmark at BubbiesBling. And I have an Instagram at BubbiesBling. I'll have it all in the description box. Anyway, do you have any Victorian jewelry? You might have some that you don't even know is Victorian. You might have some cool revival pieces, you know? I think it's pretty remarkable how different times dealt with different things in society and their emotions. Anyway, have a great day. Until next time, bye.